Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, text number 5. Sattvam rajas tama iti guna prakriti sambhava nibadananti mahabaho deho dehanam avyayam. Translation: the material nature consists of three modes: goodness, passion and ignorance. When the living entity comes in contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, he becomes conditioned by these modes. Please repeat. Material nature consists of three modes.
Material nature consists of three modes:
goodness, passion and ignorance.
Goodness, passion and ignorance.
When the eternal living entity comes into contact with nature, O mighty armed Arjuna,
O mighty armed Arjuna,
he becomes conditioned by these modes. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The living entity, because he is transcendental, has nothing to do with this material nature. Still, because he has become conditioned by the material world, he is acting under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Because living entities are have different kinds of bodies, in terms of the different aspects of nature, they are induced to act according to that nature. This is the cause of the varieties of happiness and distress. So, this material world, there are, as you're able to describe, has these three different modes. The material energy is divided into three modes, or three ways in which it works. There's the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. So, whenever we are in contact with the material nature, the living entity, as Srila Prabhupada mentions there, and also in the verse, that one becomes conditioned by those modes. So that means that whatever you come in contact with in the material world, you pick up those qualities. Whoever or whatever you associate with, you pick those qualities up. Just like if you put your hand in a bucket of cold water, then your hand gets cold. It's associated with the quality of coldness. It's a simple example. But it goes for everything else in the material world. So for instance, the mode of ignorance. I'll just read this next three verses, give a summary of those three modes. So I'll just do the translations. O sinless one, the mode of goodness, being purer than the others, is illuminating, and it frees one from all sinful reactions. Those situated in that mode become conditioned by a sense of happiness and knowledge. The mode of passion is born of unlimited desires and longings, O son of Kunti, and because of this, the embodied living entity is bound by material fruitive actions. O sons of Bharat, know that the mode of darkness, born of ignorance, is the delusion of all embodied living entities. The results of this mode are madness, indolence and sleep, which bind the conditioned soul. So we can see how these different modes condition one in different ways. And there's never one mode. You can never have just goodness or just ignorance or just passion. They're always mixed, but one may be more prominent than the other. So to recognize these different modes, there are ways in which we can look around and see what kind of modes there are around. So there are different places under the influence of the different modes, and I can describe this in a way in which you can remember, and you can actually you can remember how you have experienced these different modes. For instance, the city where everyone is rushing around and pushing each other about in the street, and when you walk down the road, it's really busy and there's people rushing about. So this is the mode of passion. So I think we've all experienced that. And then mode of goodness is like being in the countryside, or being by the sea, or being in the woods. So this is mode of goodness. That feeling you experience, that calmness and peacefulness, that is mode of goodness. And then a place of mode of ignorance is like a bar or a butcher's shop, something like that. This is considered mode of ignorance. So we all experience those. So there's places in the different modes of nature. So then there's then we can also look at other things. We can look at food. So food can be divided into the three modes of nature. So we see that grains, vegetables, milk products, these are all mode of goodness. Food in the mode of ignorance is considered to be onions, garlic, a lot of chilies. These are considered mode of passion because they affect the mind. If you have too many chilies or too much onions and garlic, they can affect the mind in a passionate way. And then food in the mode of ignorance, meat, fish, eggs. This is foods in the different modes. And there's different amounts of karma that you get for the different mode, whatever you're doing. So they're linked to karma. When we act in these different modes, we are accumulating karma. And then we have colours. Everything can be classified according to the modes of nature. Colours, for instance. So white, pale colours, yellows, pale orange, and these kind of colours, pink, and they're mode of goodness colours. But bright red colours, these are called mode of passion. And then mode of ignorance colours are like black and dark blue. These are considered mode of ignorance. So all these things, they influence the mind, the consciousness. And we have, what else can we say about the mode? We can say music in the modes of nature. So we can say heavy metal, rock music. Heavy metal could be said to be in the mode of ignorance. And we can say that, what can we say in the mode of passion? Music in the mode of passion, mantra. What can you classify?
That's a lot of I suppose a lot of modern pop music is like that, isn't it?
I guess
mode
so,
of passion.
Yeah. It's not ignorance, but it's not goodness either.
Yeah.
It's kind of passion. And then, say classical music and acoustic guitar, harmonium. This is kind of mode of goodness music.
So what are the criteria for that? For example, why is rock music or heavy metal considered?
Because it induces that kind of heavy mode within the consciousness. And generally music is quite often associated with various kinds of drugs.
And sex and violence.
So kind of, so like heavy metal is associated with amphetamines and alcohol, those kind of drugs. Whereas, of course, no drugs are considered mode of goodness, really. All drugs are considered mode of ignorance because they alter the consciousness. So, but you can see various how the modes, are around and they influence. So the symptoms, we can see symptoms of the modes. The symptom of the mode of passion is distress.
Passion is distress.
Yes. The symptom of the mode of passion is distress. A symptom of the mode of goodness is happiness. But it's a material happiness. So there's karma for that. And a symptom of mode of ignorance is madness and delusion. But if someone's intoxicated, they don't know what they're doing. That's mode of ignorance. They're influenced by the mode of ignorance like So the Bhakti Yogi, he wants to actually become free from karma, because if we still have karma, then we have to come back to this material world to accept that karma, whether it's good karma or whether it's bad karma. So good karma is bad in the sense that you still have to come back to this material world. So the goal of the Bhakti Yogi is to break free from this cycle of birth and death. And it's described that one has to act on what's called the spiritual platform. So the spiritual platform is like another mode, but it's not material. It's called Shuddha Sattva. Sattva means goodness, and Shuddha means is purified. So it's purified goodness. So in the mode of goodness, one can act in such a way that one does not accrue any more karma. One can act by doing things in a spiritual way. So for instance, the Bhakti Yogi, he eats foods that are in the mode of goodness, but before eating them, he offers them to Krishna, and they become purified of any karma. So in that way, one is able to act on the level of Shuddha Sattva, or purified goodness. So similarly, with other things, we can wear clothes that are in the mode of goodness. We can use things in the material world in such a way that they free us from karma by using things in the worship of the Lord. The Bhakti Yogi, he sees that actually nothing belongs to me. Everything belongs to God. Everything belongs to Krishna in this material world. Even our own body is part of this material nature. It belongs to Krishna. We don't actually have anything. Everything belongs to God. Therefore, the Bhakti Yogi, he offers everything to Krishna. He offers his life to Krishna ultimately in the service of God. Therefore, he may have a house where he's living, but he puts an altar in his house, and he sees, oh, this is actually Krishna's house. Everything belongs to God. But he is allowing me to live here in his house. Therefore, I'm maintaining this house. And my family members, they are devotees of Krishna, so I'm looking after them. So I'm serving the devotees like that. Therefore, I can use everything in the service of God. Even if I have to go to work and I have a job, then I can give a percentage of my income to the promotion of, to the service of Krishna, to the service of the devotees living in the house which I maintain. So in that way, we can serve Krishna in our lives. We can serve God in our daily lives. In that way, we become free from karma. So at the time of death, one doesn't have to come back to this material world. Generally speaking, someone who is a sober person and understands a little bit about God consciousness, he won't want to come back to this material world. Only an insane person would want to come here, because there's so much suffering. It is a place of suffering. So to reach this, so first of all, one should try and strive to act in the mode of goodness, to eat foods in the mode of goodness, to associate with the mode of goodness, and then purify that in our lives by adding Krishna, by adding bhakti, devotion, to the mode of goodness. And gradually, the consciousness becomes purified. In Kali Yuga, the process of becoming purified is by performing the Sankirtan Yajna. It's the congregational chanting of the holy name. In different yugas, there were different ways to become purified. But in Kali Yuga, it is simply singing. We just sing our way back to the spiritual world. So it's very simple. And this was known in other traditions. In Christianity, there is many singing and chanting. In Islam also, they chant. They have beads. They chant. So this is no secret. It's well known that in this age it's very difficult to follow other processes of yoga. You know, you could be sitting and doing some hatha yoga, breathing exercises, and you go away so that you're not disturbed. You go and sit on some mountain, and then an aeroplane goes over and disturbs you. In Kali Yuga, at this time, you cannot find anywhere where you can't be disturbed, practically. There's always some disturbance from the material nature. Therefore, Krishna has given this very simple method that we just chant Hare Krishna. We just chant, and we dance, and we feast. It's very simple. It's a very simple program. The main point is, though, that congregational chanting, it means that you're trying to give it to others. So this is why the devotees of Krishna, they go out into the street and they chant. And they arrange these programs. Mantra Chaitanya has arranged this very nice program where we can all come together. And what do? We chant, we dance, we feast. Have nice prasadam. So this is the process in Kali Yuga. It's a very simple process. Some people think, oh, is that it? You just chant? But what is this chanting? When you chant a material word like water, and you're thirsty and you chant water, 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 it won't quench your thirst. Because the word water is different from the subject, from the object water. You see? In the material world, the name of something and that thing are different. You see? The word water...
Different? How it is different? If it's the table, we mean the table, no?
But when you say the word table, a table doesn't appear. The word is different from the table. Like, if you chant water, 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 it won't stop you being thirsty. Do you see? Now, because the word is a material word, so it's different from the object. But on the absolute platform, if you chant the names of God, God is present within the name. There's no difference. On a spiritual platform, there is no difference between the sound vibration of something and that thing. So this is a very, very important point. So when we chant Krishna, 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 then God is present within that sound. He's within the sound. He is there. It cuts right across everything. Same, you might chant Allah. Allah is there. Allah is another name for Krishna or God. Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever name of God you want to choose. Rama. They're spiritual sound vibration, and God is present. If you chant the name, if you chant God, God is present in that vibration, in that sound. So this is a very important point. Because as I explained, whoever you associate with, whatever you associate with, you put your hand in the cold water, it picks up the quality of coldness. So God is all pure. So when we chant the names of God, we're associating directly with that purity of God. So by association with that purity of God, we also gradually become pure. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came 500 years ago to establish the Yuga Dharma. We're 5,000 years now into the age of Kali, the age of quarrel and confusion. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, he came as a devotee to teach us how to become devotees. And so by chanting the names of God, he gave this process. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhavamahadavagni Navapanam. This is Sanskrit language. He gave this verse. That by chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, one purifies the heart. And by specifically as well, by giving it to others, by chanting it in congregationally, or by giving out these books. The books are considered to be the holy name. It's like the holy name in writing. And so in one sense they're more powerful than the holy name, because they go further. When you chant, we may be chanting on the street and you can hear it maybe a little way away and a few hundred people may hear. But when we give these books can last for hundreds of years. And the first printing of the Bible was printed in Germany in 1480, 1430, 1480, 60, around that time. About the same time that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. And that first printing of the Bible, they printed, was it 400 copies? And 100 of those copies are still available, they're still existing now. They're in museums and private collections. But the hardback book, it can last 500 years. So that is why it's so important that we give out books. And books, they cannot be suppressed. So say we only use social media for preaching, and then someone turns the switch off. it's gone, you know. But the book is self-sufficient. It doesn't need a battery. No battery. You know. It's not like your iPad. After 3 years, maybe your iPad is dead. And how do you access all the information? You know, there's just ones and zeros on chips, and you need electricity. The book needs no electricity. It's got an index. You can go, page 300. Okay, there it is. Straight away, search and find. So that is why we emphasize these books so much. Of course, they are available as ebooks. Every one of these books, well, not this one, but the new books that we have, whenever you get one of these books, there's a code in the front. And you go on a website and you free download of the ebook. So you get a free ebook. Whenever you buy one of these, you get a free ebook as well. So we have everything. We have on social media, we have websites, we have ebooks, but we stress the hard copy, because it cannot be destroyed. You cannot collect all the hard copies in the world and destroy them. Somewhere, someone will have some. So it's very important like that. So when we chant Hare Krishna, we're gradually cleansing the heart. We're cleansing all the things from the heart. The living entity in the material world, we are the spirit soul. We are the soul within the body. That is the real person. And the soul is like a diamond. Like a diamond is pure. So the soul is like a diamond. And that diamond in the material world, in the body, is like the soul is covered by some mud. Like you might have a diamond in the ground and it's covered by mud. But the diamond is never affected by the mud. But it's covered. So the spirit soul in the material world is like that diamond is covered by wood, covered by mud. And by chanting Hare Krishna, by Krishna Prasadam, by having Prasadam, gradually the mud is washed away from that diamond. See? So this chanting of Hare Krishna, it purifies the heart. Another one is like the soul is like in the middle of an onion. Like an onion, of course we don't have onions, but the onions, they've got different layers, loads of layers. You peel off the different layers. So when we chant Hare Krishna, it's like we're peeling off these different layers, gradually, and then reveals the soul, eventually, like that. So the process of Krishna consciousness is just very simple. It's simple dancing, chanting and feasting. And this is how it works. Of course, in the beginning, chanting Hare Krishna, it might seem like it's a bit strange. But gradually, the more you chant, the more it becomes nice. There's different examples for that. For instance, one cure for jaundice, this disease of the liver, is to take sugar candy, because it's easy to digest. But then, for one who has jaundice, the taste of sugar is very bitter. So similarly, chanting Hare Krishna, when we first hear it, we think, what is this? It's not, doesn't sound such a nice thing to do. But as one recovers from jaundice, then the taste of sugar gets stronger and stronger. So similarly, when we chant Hare Krishna, gradually, as the heart becomes cleansed, then gradually the chanting Hare Krishna becomes sweeter and sweeter. So, anyway. would go on too long. Has anyone got some questions or any points they want to discuss?
What qualifies as the name of God, for example? Because I don't really know like how different religions emerged. But obviously there are different names for it, like Jehovah for Christianity and for
Yes,
Muslims.
yes.
But where did they come from?
I guess they came from their scriptures, which would have come from their teachers or whatever. Generally, the names are different descriptions. Allah means the greatest. Rama means the supreme, happiness, like that, pleasure. So a lot of the names of God describe His qualities. All the names our devotees have, they're names of God. So my name, Titiksu, means Krishna's quality of forgiveness. So most of the names of God, they describe His qualities. Krishna means,
It's all attractive, isn't it? All attractive, isn't it?
Krishna means the all attractive. Also means the blue one or whatever, or different like that. So the different descriptions of God. Just like the word God, that's English for God. It's in English. So in every language there'll be the translation of the word God. So then there's primary names of God and secondary names, and they have different potencies. It's said that how does it go? Is it the names of Vishnu? So names of Vishnu, 1,000 names of Vishnu is one name of is it Rama? I can't remember. And then 3 names of Rama is one name of Krishna. So if you chant 3 names of Rama, it's the same as chanting Krishna once, or like that. So according to the primary, secondary, and tertiary names, they have different potency, and it can be looked at. For instance, the example is like a high court. Say high court judge, a judge, for instance. In court, he's called my lord. To his friends, he's called John. His more intimate name, and to his children, he's called father. So, or say father through children, and then maybe his wife calls him John. So there's different. Then as they become more intimate, they become more potent. So it's kind of things like that.
Is there something specifically linguistically about Sanskrit that makes the names of God more potent?
As far as I know, Sanskrit is the language of the spiritual world. So it's a very accurate language. It has how many vowels does it have? 10? 10 vowels and 50 letters in the alphabet. So it can describe things very accurately. So that's all I know really. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. I know how to pronounce it roughly, according to this. I can't read the Devanagari. It's called Devanagari script, the squiggles. So I can't read that, but I can read the kind of transliteration into English, and then I have to look at what it means to get a translation. So it's not dependent really on scholarship. It's dependent on devotion. It's to do with the heart more than it is to do with knowledge like that.
I've heard it's the root of all modern languages as well.
Apparently so, yeah. Yeah, asan. Asan means seat. So there's the word as in English or whatever means seat, or the back part. So there's all kinds of different words like that, yeah. So the thing is, a lot of people, they get conditioned. You can get conditioned by the mode of goodness because it brings happiness. And so we're going to become attached to the goodness of the material world, and that would still bring one back here. So that's the point of purifying the mode of goodness by doing everything in such a way that it becomes devotional, becomes Bhakti Yoga, becomes spiritual. So that's part of the process of performing Bhakti Yoga. Is to kind of work out how to do that. And of course we have our devotees here and we have the books, so we can learn how to do that.
I remember you listening to what does purify actually mean?
Purify means to remove the unwanted things. In other words, we have so many unwanted qualities in the material world: lust, anger, greed, all the kind of negative qualities that we pick up by association through many lifetimes. So purify means to gradually wash those away by chanting. Very good questions. Very good. I like those. If you have any more, let me. Anyone else got questions?
When you have to make certain decisions, like you mentioned the hard copy that you value, but you also offer the ebook, and you have streams through social media, for example. How is that? Does it compromise any sense of the goodness, or does it involve ignorance in order to make certain decisions to broadcast your message?
The idea is that anything in the material world can be used in the service of God. So it's a question of how you do that. For instance, we use car to get here today.
Mm-hmm.
So, car is a gross material thing, but then the example is given that you can use if you've got a thorn in your finger,
Mm-hmm.
you can use another thorn to prick it out with.
Mm.
So although I used a car to drive here from London, it could be seen as a very materialistic thing, belting down the motorway at 80 miles an hour. But then it's being used to bring us here to try and say something about Krishna. So then we consider that as a sort of spiritual use of a car.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, anything you can use anything to try and give Krishna to others. Because the goal is that people are suffering in the material world, and the goal of the devotee is to try to help people get out of this material world. So therefore, whatever you can use to that end to try and help people understand, about God, and understand that we're not this material body, we're a spirit soul, and we don't have to suffer in the material world. Then we can use those. We should use those things. It would be wrong not to.
So does that apply, for example, to someone who might really love rock music and they use rock music in order to feel at peace and feel kind of released and feel good, say, because they're doing it for gain and for a certain level of purity, if you like?
It depends. It is possible. You could use rock music to spread Krishna consciousness. I've heard it done.
Mm-hmm.
Where you're playing heavy rock music and the Maha Mantra's in it, or they're singing about Krishna. And some people have done it. It can be done, but the difficulty is when you associate with those things, you get attached to it. You get attached to the material side of it. There's always that danger. Of course, the danger is there with the mode of goodness as well. You become attached to that. So one has to see how one is using something in the service of Krishna. And the difficulty is the material attachment.
So it's not necessarily material, but it's the process of attaching that's the issue.
It's the process of being able to use it in the service of Krishna,
Mm-hmm.
without becoming too conditioned by it.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, becoming attached to it. It's like we've been associating with this body for however many years. So we tend to think we're the body. We get born in this body, and we don't know anything else. Nobody tells us anything else, so we think we're the body. And sometimes I might be, sometimes I'm giving out books on the street, or I have been in the past, and you say to someone, "Well, who are you? Where are you from? And who are you?" And the guy says, "Oh, I'm a coal miner from Rotherham." So no, you're not. No, you're the spirit soul within the body. Or you may say to someone, another thing we sometimes we said to people, so when you look in the mirror, who do you see? And they said, "Well, me." I said, "No, that's the material body. You're the spirit soul within the body." People are actually relieved to hear it half the time. They're like half the time. It's amazing how many people they don't like what they see in the mirror. It's quite shocking. I never really thought of it until I started, because you have to break the ice. You're on the street and you want to try and give someone a book, and you stop someone and you have to break the ice very quickly. So you make some joke or something. When you look in the mirror, who do you see? What? Yeah, so that's the point. We become, by association, we become attached to the body. We think we are the body, and that's what keeps us in this material world. So, yeah, you can use anything in the service of Krishna. But the point is that one has to do it in such a way, basically under the guidance of a guru or a spiritual master. That's where the guru comes in, is that the expert spiritual master is able to guide the disciple in such a way that by his natural tendency to act, he actually becomes purified, becomes perfect. So say someone is a carpenter, so if they can be engaged in carving beautiful forms of the Lord and carving altars and things like that, then they're performing devotional service. So by their natural tendency to act, they gradually become purified. Because we all have different tendencies. We'll act in a certain way, Before I was a Hare Krishna devotee, I liked working with wood. I used to build acoustic guitars. I was also involved with electronics, that kind of thing. So now I do various things. One of the things I do, I help build festival floats that we have. So I use my skill, or some little skill I might have, to try and, with wood and stuff like that. So, whatever we like doing, we can do it for God. That's the perfection, really.